Welcome to Mindcast, your 10-minute mental wellness break, brought to you by Sanitas BeWell. We're your BeWell counselors, here to talk about stress, anxiety, depression, and everyday mental health. Let's get into it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Genae Brady, and welcome to Mindcast. And I have with me today Daniela Presti. How you doing, Daniela?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. So today we are going to be discussing depression and many of the symptoms and treatments for it. And like I said, we have Daniela here, who's also a social worker with the BeWell program. So Daniela, can you tell me a little bit about some of the symptoms that you notice our patients have been having with depression?
Sure. I've noticed that sometimes they're just exhausted, have no motivation, lack of energy, sleeping more. Sometimes they have no appetite, or sometimes they kind of overeat and emotionally eat. So it's different for each person, but those are kind of some general overall symptoms that I've been seeing.
Yes, I noticed that with our patients too. There's also many other symptoms too. And like I told many of my patients, when you have a mental health disorder or mental health symptoms, you got to remember that this is your control center. So whatever affects your mind can eventually affect your body. And like you said, sometimes they're not eating or sleeping. That can get people start to get sick, they start to get,
Yeah.
illnesses, colds, flus, things like that. Even having body aches and pains sometimes just from, you know, feeling depressed or feeling like, very down for a very long period in time. And there's also different ways of treating depression. With the BeWell program, we use a lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I do what I usually do is help my patients to challenge any negative thoughts that they may have. What other treatments do you think is best for our patients?
I think that sometimes implementing in positive behaviors, things that you enjoy, also seeing what's getting you down, seeing if those negative thoughts kind of multiply, because sometimes something can be happening and we have this tendency to catastrophize and thinks that it's much worse. And that can overall affect our mood and make things feel even worse. So let's say if I'm running late for work in the morning, and then I'm automatically thinking, oh God, I'm going to lose my job. Oh God, if I lose my job, I'm going to lose my house. If I lose my house, I'm going to be homeless. And those thoughts just kind of perpetuate, and you just go from 0 to 100. And then we have to realize, well, what am I actually upset about? I'm just upset that I'm running 15 minutes late for work. Let me call my boss. Let me not overanalyze and think the worst case scenario.
A lot of times I have patients who may be diagnosed with major depressive disorder after suffering a great loss in their family or like a death of a loved one, or spouse, or a death of a pet even, and then they start to, have some of these symptoms. So, depression can start in many different ways. What type of ways have you seen patients come in that they mostly are suffering from depression?
I've seen a lot of different loss, also transition, sometimes breakup, divorce. Those are always very triggering. I think any transitional time, let's say if you're not able to find a job and you're frustrated over your finances and you keep applying and you never feel that you're moving ahead, those can all be really triggering for major depressive disorder and feeling like I can't catch a break. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that with a lot of patients too. And I think we should do another one on grief and depression too, and see how that, another show on that, and see how our audiences think about these type of symptoms and these types of things. Also, I do have a lot of patients that have a lot of questions about medications. And some of them are scared, some of them feel like it's taboo. I always tell my patients, medication is if your symptoms are getting to the point where it's affecting your normal day functioning. Like you can't do your homework, You can't study. You can't go to work. You
Yeah.
can't do the things that you enjoy doing, you know.
And the other thing is that idea that if I take medication, that makes me crazy. And I would say nobody that walks through my door is crazy.
Mhm.
We have stress. Sometimes we feel down. It's a medical condition, the same way that if a person had diabetes, they would take insulin, they would get treatment. If a person, God forbid, had cancer, you would get cancer treatment. If you have depression, you walk through the door and you do talk therapy. It's completely, completely normal, and possibly take medication to just make you feel better.
Mhm. And everything is confidential. So there's no fear that, we're going to go out and tell somebody what you said. It's confidential. It stays between you and the therapist. And that's another comforting thing for a lot of patients. They fear that, oh, if I talk to somebody about this,
Yeah,
no, this is your time to explain what has happened, what has got you here. And we give you tips and tools on how to handle it, like you said, challenging negative thoughts and
exactly.
you know, relaxation, giving you tips and tools like, exercising, go out and
Yeah.
get the sunlight, don't stay, when you start having these feelings, go out and do something that you enjoy,
Exactly.
you know,
Because with physical activity, that's like a natural serotonin booster. And
yeah,
also different techniques, breathing techniques. If you're feeling, a minute of anxiety, and if you're feeling like a panic attack, there's so many different ways to cope. Once you start doing the things you love again, then you kind of start rediscovering yourself and everything. Your mood lifts naturally because you're doing amazing things with your life.
and I've seen many different types of symptoms with depression. I even seen people who get angry, but like, why are you so angry? Well, I lost my mom. I lost, my pet. I'm
Yeah,
angry. There's different types of symptoms. And like you said, it's very diverse with the symptoms. And it's very diverse with the treatments of it too. But I always let my patients know that, you know, even if you have to get medications because, it's starting to affect your life, your everyday things that you enjoy doing, it's not going to change the wonderful person that you are. It's not going to change you.
exactly.
It's not going to change your personality.
No, no, it does
It's
not.
not going to make you go out and do things, but
No, 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 no. Any of the things that we do, we are accountable. We make our individual choices.
so that you can fight against what I like to call is the darkness that creeps up on us. So you can fight
Mhm.
against it. So it's not as strong. And then the more you work with us, the better you start to feel, the lower your symptoms are. And then you can lower your medication. You can have it lowered until you don't need it anymore.
Exactly, exactly. And then you just go and you taper off little by little. It's always important to not stop medication immediately because that could actually re-trigger a new
Mhm.
episode. So sometimes people feel, oh, I'm feeling better. I've been taking my medication. I'm just going to stop. Not a good thing. Never a good idea to just cold turkey stop any medication because especially for just the depression SSRIs, it's going to possibly trigger then a lack of serotonin, and you can start a new episode by an immediate stopping of all medication, which is just never a good idea. You want to work over time, taper it off, work
Mhm.
with your counselor and your MD in order to decrease it over time. So that way it's a healthy transition back to being completely off of medication.
Correct. Always talk with your doctor too. Especially if you have side effects. We don't want you to feel bad and then have, side
Oh,
effects.
absolutely. I
The
always
better.
say if you feel terrible, stop taking the medication immediately. If you're having any negative any thoughts or any side effects that are too unmanageable.
Yes. And actually talk to your doctor about it too, because it could be something else. Maybe it's an interaction with another medication you're taking.
Exactly.
Maybe it's something that that's going on. And everybody's bodies are different. So people
Oh,
metabolize
100%.
things differently. So I know some patients say, well, I knew somebody that was on this medication and this happened with them and I don't want to take.
Yeah,
Your body is different.
exactly. There's a reason why when the doctor makes a medication recommendation, they're making it based on you and your unique physiology. It's not a blanket recommendation across the board.
And like I said, A lot of medications have side effects. Just even if you take a cold medication or your
Oh,
antibiotic,
100%.
you're going to have side
Yeah.
effects. Some medications have side effects, and usually they're very rare. But if you do,
Yeah.
talk to your doctor about it to see if it's safe to taper down or stop taking it completely. And then, they could work with you on other means and treatments too. I also
Yeah.
want to let some of our audience out there also know about what are some of the danger signs that can happen with depression. Because if depression gets too severe, we do have it sometimes where people may start having thoughts of harming themselves or harming others.
Yeah, and that's always a scary thing. It's always something that we have to be mindful of. So if you see someone start to say over time, it'd be better if I'm not around here anymore, if they start giving away their belongings,
Mhm.
if they start coming up with a plan and telling you specifically, those are all red flag statements that we should always take very seriously. And sometimes people even might say it jokingly, but it is completely serious.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things to have to do is deal with a completed suicide. It's one of the most tragic things to try to talk with a family, friends, people that know that person, for them to come to terms with why. And we want to prevent that. So we want to listen to those red flags, call 911 if somebody's immediately threatening to harm themselves or somebody else.
But
Yeah,
if you know anybody who is suffering from these symptoms of depression and they are thinking about doing things to harm themselves, please contact either the authorities to, help them. And I'd rather you be here and have you mad at me than you not be here.
exactly.
Exactly.
100%. It's always best to be safe. It's
Exactly.
something that I've responded to. Person safety is priority. They might not like it if they have to go to the hospital, but better that they're at the hospital than they're in the grave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you or anybody you know is suffering from depression, please contact us. Working with the BeWell program, we have excellent counselors here who are able to help you, like myself and like Daniela. We are able to help you with any of your symptoms. We help you lower your symptoms. We help you get medication if you need it and if you want it. And we work with your primary care doctor, so you have a whole team helping you. Thank you for your time, Daniela.
Bye, everybody.